Hello and welcome to the Business of the Business podcast. I'm your co-host JP John Podge with the two-man power trip, of course. Joining me, the former doctor, actually, I guess he's really the current doctor, the former financial wrestling genius, now doctor, Lavie Margolin. Lavie, how you doing today, sir?
Good. They haven't stripped me of my credentials yet, like Dr. Margolin, the infamous dentist and pro wrestling photographer and mega fan. I haven't violated whatever obligations
Yes,
I have in maintaining this
yes.
doctorate, so it's all good.
Former financial genius, because we don't call you that anymore. Now we call you doctor. You've upgraded to doctor, so
Yeah, I can have a number, like whatever fits on the LinkedIn profile,
yes.
as long as but something always has to come first. So doctor sounds good.
Before we get to our guest, hopefully he's with us in not too far distant future here. But let's talk about the New York City mayoral race, and not because of who won necessarily. Not that we cover too much politics here, but just for the fact that he is a huge wrestling fan. It seems like maybe a CM Punk mark, maybe an AEW mark. Tell us about your new mayor of New York City, Mr. Mamdani, who was caught, I guess, a couple of years ago at an AEW show in New York.
Yes. Uh, Zoran Mamdani, our mayor-elect of New York City, attended one of those shows in Queens, right, where he saw Kenny Omega against Brian Danielson,
Great match.
and he wasn't the. I guess it was like one of his friends that was filming him, or somebody next to him, and he was just going crazy and enjoying the moment. A man of the people. He was in the worst seats in the house, so in that respect, that was correct. But the question is not do we like him, support him, and you don't even have to worry about it, John, in New Jersey.
Yeah, thank God.
But
Yeah.
talking about New Jersey, of course, with AEW coming to the Prudential Center in just a couple of weeks as we're recording this, what do you think about AEW inviting him? Right, he's a genuine fan. From AEW fans that I know, they like him. That doesn't mean I'm not applying that broadly, right? There hasn't been
Right.
uh, you know, a preference survey done, although there have been with WWE, generally in terms of politics. So, not saying AEW fans are more likely to like him, but of the AEW fans I know in New York, they do like him. So I think he could get cheered, but it's quite controversial, and it's not New York, it's New Jersey. So, if you were Tony Khan and somebody gave you his phone number, would you call Mayor-elect Mamdani, John?
That would be kind of an interesting thing. Not that, they're looking for any sort of like him getting a reaction or a pop or anything. I'm just kind of just curious how he would be, because obviously people are going to know he's there and they're going to probably show him if he shows up, because I'm sure he'll show up. I just wonder how he'll be received. It's not New York per se; it's New Jersey, and we didn't vote for him, if you will. You know what I mean? Like, he's not our guy, but I think it's a smart move for them just to get extra eyeballs on it, because I think that'll get extra coverage that he's there for sure.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like, there'd be so much press, especially in New York, and they kind of need that now. I haven't been following the ticket sales, but I don't think they've been, knocking it out of the park um, with this show. So I think, like, you know, you obviously don't have it. He doesn't really need to take a stand at this point. He's already been elected, but um, I think it would be more of a plus for them and not someone that necessarily voted for him in the election. I don't think that people would be like, oh, okay, I hate AEW now. I'm never going to watch again because they platformed him. He's already, the mayor elect. So, that doesn't really matter. And I think you would get, probably more benefit than negativity to it. Although New York Post does cover AEW a lot, so maybe they would be upset, but I'm sure they would
Hmm.
cover this and say that they were upset.
I just think it's a good like PR publicity stunt, if you will. Like, hey, let's get some extra attention that we might not normally get on this show, because we're inviting in, obviously a guy who has, popularity for sure, but is also a lightning rod for the media.
Yeah, and I'm not comparing the two for whatever, but like, wrestling's always wanted to bring in like Tanya Harding and like, OJ
Right.
Simpson
Yeah.
and whatever. So AW hasn't really gone that route. They just brought in the what are they called? The Costco guys.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
those people
Big
and
Boom AJ. Oh yeah. And Big Justice. Yeah.
And who's their friend? The Rizzler?
The Rizzler, yes.
Yes. So I took a picture actually when I was at the Hammerstein last year. Somebody was just giving them the finger. I don't know. Like, they're not that hateable.
They're,
uh,
two of them are little kids. What
yeah.
in the world? What in the world? Like, oh my
Yeah, you know how it
almost
goes.
11. So I mean, they're obviously they're around his age, right? Crazy.
So interesting, John. So I think we came to a consensus, even though it may not be, or we're not revealing too much, but even though it may not be our political leanings, that to AEW, it probably would be more of a benefit than a loss for them.
You got to do it. Got to do it, and especially if the iron is hot. If somebody's out there hot, bring him in. Why not? Why the heck not? Now,
So
speaking of why the iron is hot here, Lavie, a topic that is never not hot. WrestleMania 3, WWE. I know you're going to say out there, not Lavie, but you're going to say out there listening, like, what is he talking about? WrestleMania 3. Lavie's been on Grok, I guess, searching up the attendance for WrestleMania. Tell me about this. What is going on? Is the debate over? How many people were there?
yeah, so to some controversy. Now, first you have to acknowledge that Grok isn't perfect. I was trying it
Oof.
with some ticket maps and sharing some of that information regarding TNA and the when they're going to be at Full Sail, and apparently it miscounted it, and like people were like going crazy, like they were insulting my family. I had to delete it. um, but I think as far as I can gather, Grok is more effective in terms of counting actual people from a picture and sort of estimating in that way. And I was actually stunned, John, by the number that it came up with. So I asked Grok, I said, use AI powered crowd estimation to give me the number of people that are in this wide shot at WrestleMania 3. So I won't go through all the technical details, but it breaks it down. It's counting the heads on the floor, lower bowl, upper deck. Actually, I guess those numbers are interesting. So it had 28,000 on the floor, 31,500 in the lower bowl, and 18,000 in the upper deck. I guess actually, now that we're thinking about it, the lower and upper deck weren't blocked off, right? So, John, we should be able to know what that number was, right? So that's
Yep.
49,500 at the Pontiac Silverdome. Do we know what that used to seat for football?
80,000.
80,000. So but the floor is 28,000. So that's weird, right?
Yeah, that's why I thought it was like kind of cut and dry that it was probably closer to 90, just because in football terms, if you could fit 80, plus they weren't counting the people in the boxes either. I've noticed, which doesn't get counted. So that's why I always thought it might be more. I know, damn it, I can't remember who. There was somebody that came out recently that said that the total was 88,000 something around, and I was like, wait a second, where the hell did that number come from? And it was somebody that worked for the stadium. I was like, wait a second, now it's 88. Not that I thought it was 93 necessarily, but then I was like, wait a second, I thought Meltzer said it was 78. This other person that would have more information was saying it's close to 88,000.
John, I know who wrote that article. It was
Oh,
Bix.
oh, get out of here! Bix said it
Yeah.
was closer to 80.
It
Wow.
was like
Okay.
88. I think it was Bix. Now,
I got to give Bix credit then. Good
yeah.
job by our longtime close personal friend David Bix.
So what was interesting in his article that revealed was that there was articles where it said they were letting people, you could just stand like in the halls, so like in back of the seats. So that was like kind of crazy for
Yeah.
crowd control, but
Yeah.
they just let people in. Um, you're right, and then there's the box seats and all that sort of stuff. So I guess the debate isn't over, but I was stunned by the number they came up with, because that was
Yeah.
77,800 people. Um, but so let's say, what did you say? 80 was the seating in the lower and upper bowls for football.
That's what I believe, if I remember correctly when I was looking it up. Yeah.
Because then that would be even higher, right? Like there's
Yeah.
no one on the floor for football, so
Right. Exactly.
108,000, where it's even bigger than the Dallas show. So I guess the debate isn't over. This is just going to be
Yes. Yes.
smartly, in that WrestleMania 3 book that came out recently, like there's just like acknowledgement. I think it was basically like some people say this, some people say that, as opposed to like wading into that, just leaving that alone.
Yes. It's like watching that movie with Ben Affleck about the original Superman. Like, did he kill himself? Did he not? And at the end, it's like, it's up to you to decide. You're like, damn it, I thought we were going to get a definitive answer. We didn't get a definitive answer. You'll never get a definitive answer.
You know what my son hates, like on Disney shows, when they leave a cliffhanger in case it's going to get renewed, and then the show doesn't get renewed, and he's like, "Oh man," like I was kind of waiting to see what would happen.
Yes. I hate that as well. That's just so annoying. It's like Twin Peaks, the original airing, and then all of a sudden, 30 years later, they started it up again and they redid it. It was like, damn! For 30 years, I was wondering what the hell happened here.
Right. Even I wasn't a Sopranos watcher, but I think that was a thing, right? Somebody comes into
Yes.
the restaurant, you're not sure if they're killed or
Yep. That
something
was the
like that.
thing that they kind of left it open ended. You didn't know what was going to happen with Tony and his family. So I kind of don't like that necessarily. The show was great. The ending is a little iffy.
So talking about, potentially the biggest attendance or up there, that it's certainly the one that's been debated the most. Let's talk about some of the lowest attendances, not unexpectedly, but just in terms of NXT, what's ahead of us, some of their more ambitious shows. So out of Florida, which we've been covering. So via WrestleTix, in Green Bay, 1,245 tickets out. It's actually -5. Some tickets came back to the map. Then in St. Paul on the 13th, that has 1,852. And then in Chicago, it's just 785. And then MSG, I think they'll probably get, well, actually, it's not too far away, right? On 1,831 tickets. So I'm wondering for that, John, if the market is sort of like, you had UFC on Saturday, which is kind of, a different target market, but still. Then you have Raw for John Cena's last time at MSG. And then NXT, it's kind of like, it's hard to like have that at the back end. Sometimes if they, start out with NXT, you sort of build momentum, and it's not, expected that, anyone would travel for this.
That is one of those things where, like, do they expect better or do they not expect? Because it's just NXT, but they're kind of the third brand. You know what I mean? I'm always kind of iffy on that because it's like these guys need reps, they need to practice, but they also want decent crowds.
Yeah, and it's sort of like what, like we've talked about, like what makes it worthwhile for them. Like, well, no, because they've done a couple of these now where it's like weekend shots away, maybe like once a month, I guess is the momentum we'll see. But like as we talked about, it could satisfy some demand because they don't come to certain areas anymore. But in WWE's projections in terms of lowering the amount of maid shows that they do at touring, they expect that to create demand where people would travel more. If you're like in the region, uh, then you would go. So maybe like in Wisconsin, you would go to whatever the biggest city is in the Midwest, where you're willing to travel 2 or 3 hours. Kind of like if your favorite band is playing like a city or two over, you're like willing to go. But I think
Yep.
you could, obviously it's working for WWE Main in terms of their ticket sales at the moment, but I think it is important to have a way for families to go where they could experience wrestling beyond like independence.
So there's a couple TNA champions that are a part of NXT, which is obviously a part of their agreement of working together. What else is going on with TNA wrestling and their agreements?
So interestingly, because it didn't feel like that long ago that they had just announced a deal with them, but with Claro Sports in South America or and Mexico, sorry, Latin America and Mexico, that they signed a license agreement. The move punctuates what has been a historic year for TNA. Um, 17 territories: Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Ecuador, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, Dominican Republic, Uruguay, and Venezuela. I was going to say I won't read them all, but I got inspired. But you talking about Grok, and hopefully they don't fail us in this circumstance. I asked them to do a comparison, like, okay, there was just a deal announced. What's the difference between now and then? So in the original deal, it was non-exclusive. TNA could be distributed on other outlets, and this one is exclusive. The duration wasn't specified. It was, short term or a trial, like obviously that led into this. So this is multi-year. The content in originally was TNA Impact, monthly pay-per-views and specials. Now it's termed multi-100-hour output license. It was launched immediately, and this one is January 1st. It was their entry to the market in this way. Now it's momentum building extension, emphasizing their record growth in attendance, views, and social media. The platforms originally were TV, internet, and mobile. Now it's expanded to pay TV, over the top, the website, YouTube, fast channels, mobile. So that's that. Now, interestingly, like in terms of upcoming TNA shows, I was talking to somebody who, has some knowledge of TNA but doesn't work there. Sort of like saying, oh, we were talking about the breaking attendance in Lowell and like whether that was actual or not. And I said they'll probably announce, that they broke the record whatever they're doing in Dallas. And they said, well, do you think it'll really happen in Dallas? Which is interesting because they didn't announce a show yet.
Oh, I thought that was done deal. So there is no Dallas show, or where?
There's been, they said Dallas, right? I think they said January, and then there hasn't been any tickets put on sale or anything that I've seen, John.
Interesting. So it's not going to be a Cowboy Stadium. That's what you're telling me.
I mean, it could very much happen sometimes where like, they're not running live shows anymore, and then suddenly they're like, like we did it. But so we'll see with that. But in El Paso, WrestleTix has it as 952 and 462 in December. Now they are running 50% off in Florida. So no matter how many tickets have been sold, obviously, that's not moving too quickly. But before moving on, actually, from El Paso, wanted to mention a smart move. So on the second day of the tapings, December 7th, they'll have a family day. Free activities start noon, including face painting, photos, TNA booth, TNA Santa and Mrs. Claus. Coincides with the TNA toy drive. Operation Hope, helping other people endure, is a nonprofit in the area. So it's smart, like just to connect with the community, like give people like an all day type experience. John, do you remember? I'm not sure if you went SummerSlam. I think it was '97. It could have been, or no. Which was the ones in the Continental Airlines? It was like 2 years in a row. 97. So there was activities in the parking lot.
Yes. Yep. I didn't do them, but I knew they were around because we were there and we're like, oh, what the hell's going on? There was so much stuff that they had going on all around the Meadowlands that evening, if you will, that day.
My memory said like the Meadowlands parking lot is more for like Giant Stadium. And I just remember being so hungry because like, not that I didn't eat, but like, you have everyone barbecuing. It just smells so good. And like, you're immediately like, okay, let me get some of that. But I don't remember what the activities were. I have some like bad pictures of like Brian Pillman and so on, kind of like from far away, like standing on the stage. But I think that's always like fun to like engage fans in an experience where they can like feel more a part of something than like just the event.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those things where that, first of all, that parking lot's so big because there's you got Giant Stadium, you got the racetrack, you got so much going on there that people literally will hang out there all day and night, and they'll cook all day and night. It's like basically it's almost like they live there for the weekend.
Do some people go and they just pay for parking and they just like they don't even have tickets to anything?
Yes, and they'll hang out. Yep, and some, which is probably should be kind of red flag, but some of them will bring like a merch table kind of thing, and like, hey, we're selling Giants jerseys, and like they'll just literally pay for parking, and I guess $50 or whatever it is, and they'll sit out in the parking lot. And sometimes you have guys that charge for food as you're walking by, like they're like, hey, we'll $5 hot dogs or whatever, and you could pay them for food too. But it's like a nice spread. I mean, you get a good amount of food.
I can see that like working, especially like for concerts, because the sound carries. So like if you can't afford the concert,
you could definitely hear it from the parking lot without a doubt. Yeah, even wrestling, you'll hear like if somebody wanted, you'll hear the pops like oh, like what the hell happened? Oh,
it's too bad the Continental Airlines closed. I know why it's sort of like obsolete, because of so many different venues now. You have Newark, Long Island, by the racetrack. Brooklyn. So it's kind of like edged out, but it was a pretty solid venue.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Now I know that you absolutely love House of Glory. I don't know if you'll be camping out there anytime soon, but they're on the road. What's going on with House of Glory?
Yeah, they're really moving things along, kind of quietly, getting more ambitious. We've talked about them as like a potential growth promotion. Um, Smartly, they've teamed up with the Big Event, which is an autograph show once a year. It used to be in Queens, now it's in Long Island. I was always curious to go, but it never made it. So they're at the Suffolk Credit Union Arena. It looks like a pretty big venue, and they are booking Mercedes Monet. So I know that they've had her before, so I don't know if there's a discount on the $25,000 fee, or maybe there's a rapper family to rapper family negotiation type thing with, Master P and
Well,
Snoop Dogg.
she's boys with Amazing Red. He helped
Oh,
train
okay,
her and
so
stuff, so he definitely
okay,
gets a discount. Yeah, not
okay,
to say
for
he did,
sure.
not to say I know for sure, but I would think,
Yeah,
assuming,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
No, thanks for that reminder.
yeah.
100%. I think that was sort of like what we talked about years ago, right? When she left WWE, what will she do? So we're kind of like, depending on what her objectives are, she'll probably pass through there at some point. But Nor Phoenix Diana, who's been training at Reality of Wrestling with Booker T. She's active in the Malaysia, Southeast Asia wrestling scene, and she's just really unique talent. She's different. She wears her tradition. She wears a hijab, and it's just like a different feel, and can appeal to different markets. Uh, John, I don't know if you know this, but I actually had a connection to her. And
Whoa.
I invited her to the show, but she declined. She wasn't comfortable at that time. Uh, I don't know if it was specifically speaking in English, or maybe she just didn't want to be on a podcast. Let her do the wrestling, do the talking. But certainly been on our radar for quite a while. So I think that's a really smart booking for them. They're in the Logan Square Auditorium, November 21st, a smaller venue that's quite popular with wrestling. So the reserve tickets are mostly sold out for that. In Club Amazura in Queens, I think they kind of switch off between their own venue and maybe bigger shows at this place. It's kind of expensive for a club show, although obviously sometimes they book big talent. $155 for front row, but just $22 all the way to general admission. And then they're opening back up the Globe Theater for wrestling in Los Angeles, January
Whoa.
30th. So tickets look like they've been moving well there too.
When you're looking at GC Dub, what is going on with them? They're all over the place. GCW. What's going on with Game Changer?
Yeah, so we took a couple week break from show by show, but I think it's interesting to go back to at least the ones that are on sale through the end of the year, giving us a little feel. So in Hartford, Connecticut, at the Webster, just general admission standing room are available. In Maine, things have picked up. The first 3 rows are sold out. I don't know if they're going to add more reserved rows, but just GA available. In Vermont, the first 2 rows are sold out, so third is available, so slower there. In the mall show, there, the American Dreams Mall, third row and beyond are still available. So interesting to see if that gimmick, quote unquote, like seeing a show at the mall, still appeals. They'll be in Seattle, of course, at Defy's home base there in Washington Hall on December 5th. Plenty of tickets available there. In LA, December 6th, a month out, it looks like it's kind of slow because it might end up, of course, on that side, but second row and beyond still has tickets available. More like third row. There's just a couple second row tickets available. And then the Nick Gage Invitational, unfortunately, I mean, fortunately that he is managing his issues, but unfortunately he has to manage those, and probably wouldn't be available. I mean, it's still a month out, so you never know. But second row and beyond are still available for that.
So here and there, what do you got for us? That is your favorite topic of all time. You might even sprinkle in Ariel Hawani for some reason here and there for the first time ever.
Yes, John. Actually, I have a question. I've never gotten the answer to this. Do you remember when Ariel Hawani was interviewing Brock Lesnar, and then like in the background, like the Undertaker started yelling at Brock Lesnar?
Yes, wasn't that supposed to set up another match between them, and it really didn't work out until years later?
Yeah, that's what I figured. Like, I've never heard of them not getting along. Obviously, I assumed it was a work, but like nobody ever talked about that, like being a work, and nothing ever came of it. So I was
Yeah,
always curious.
I was always shocked that more didn't come. They were 100% working because when he returns, they kind of end up working, together again. So it's like they definitely were trying to work something. Even Daniel Cormier was smart enough with Lesnar. Remember, he tried to like work an angle with him, and it never came to fruition where they didn't fight. But it was like that's kind of like one of those things where it's like a no brainer. Let's just work an angle with Lesnar. If it works out, it doesn't. If it doesn't, at least it will get some attention. They were definitely working on an angle. Had to have been.
Thanks. I was always curious about that one. So why am I bringing up Helwani? I'm just covering some news. Not that he broke it, but that's just the research that I got from. So just some news. Basically, I kind of think about it like um, TV or distribution that's not wrestling, but it's kind of wrestling, gives us like a sense of the market. So PFL, which I believe airs on ESPN, is going to take their secondary programming, or more international programming, more accurately, from MENA and Africa, which had, I think, just been airing on the apps, and that will air on Vice TV, which, as we know, the Dark Side of the Ring does quite good ratings, relatively so, in the market. However, John, do you know? Here's a trivia question that I looked up. What do you think Arena Football's ratings were about on Vice TV?
250K maybe being generous there. What do you think?
Um, it was officially a zero,
Oh no.
and they averaged. And I saw, maybe like I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks that were covered. It was like 7,000 people.
Whoa, damn, okay. That's not very good.
So people don't necessarily go to Vice unless they go there for a purpose. Um, I think, like, some of the higher profile programming gives us like a sense that okay, they're sort of more popular than they are. But I heard the bare knuckle stuff has done well for them. I don't have those ratings, but it's a platform, of course, and most companies would be glad to have it. And I'd assume that there's a rights fee attached to it, as well, especially with secondary programming like this. Otherwise, why do it? Especially if you already have distribution on ESPN.
Yep.
And no surprise that Paramount Plus has picked up professional bull riding under the TKO brand.
That is so interesting that PBR is following them. So TKO obviously is like, hey, you want UFC? Why don't you have PBR? And they're like, okay, they get to piggyback.
Yeah, I think there's, they've tried to do not too much, but there has been like weekends where they're like, we take over Las Vegas or whatever it is. So like you get WWE, UFC, PBR.
Yes, yes.
They haven't forced anyone to take the slap fighting yet, although that's of course not specifically owned by TKO. It's just very well tied in.
What else is going on in your here and there world? Because I think
So
New Japan Pro Wrestling's got some news.
yeah, so a little bit of an update from the image that I have here. So it's about 750 tickets there in Trenton, um, February 27th. So I think, once they announce talents and so on. So we'll have to see how that moves along. John, are you more convinced one way or another whether you'll be attending that show?
I want to go, but the only thing is, I don't know. Like I'm leaning towards it, but is anybody else going to want to go? What's the weather going to be like? It's February in New Jersey is pretty unpredictable and not very nice to kind of go out and about in.
Yeah, that's a good point. other sort of here and there bits from WrestleTix. Big Time Wrestling has 697 tickets distributed. The MLW Don Gato Tequila Show, I think they're going to find a way to fill this up one way or another. Very much could be through direct ticket sales, but it's an important show for them with sponsorship and with celebrities and all that. So November 20th, 518 tickets distributed. So not too far out at this moment. And a smart move. Was it Marco Stunt that's like now a car salesman?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess in the Memphis area, smart move by Memphis Wrestling that they signed him up to be on-screen talent and a mentor. So keep him involved in the business. It's fairly high profile, in terms of independent wrestling of this nature, affiliated with the United Wrestling brand. So if Marco wants to remain in the business while he's working full time, I think that's a good thing. And hopefully people are encouraging him online, he's doing what he needs to do, a job for himself. I don't know if his family situation or anything like that, but certainly why not? Sometimes people want people just like to exist when they're a star on TV, and I don't know what they're imagining them doing when they're not, but this is sort of the reality of the situation.
Lavie, I want to bring in our guest here as we're finishing up the news. My favorite guest. You were telling me off air he's not your favorite guest, but he's my favorite guest.
Listen, I know how many times Brett has been on the show. I highly doubt that I'm the favorite, but I'll take one of the favorites.
You're moving up, and of course, as you saw offline yesterday, Kevin, the AM, the PM, the West Coast, the East Coast, it just makes it a challenge.
Yes, I apologize. It is rather early out here.
Kevin Kleinrock from Masked Republic. What is going on? What is up with you? What is going on with the ever-changing U.S. lucha scene? Luchadors versus everyone, I guess.
Yeah, so we've been very, very busy. So couple of things. So yeah, we are getting ready. We just announced last Sunday on Dia de los Muertos that we are launching a Kickstarter, our first real Kickstarter in February for a massive 300 plus page book about the history of the Lucha Libre film genre. We're doing it in collaboration with the family that made over 3 dozen of the Lucha films, including the first 2 Santo films. And it's really the first time that they've opened their literal vault. There's a vault in Mexico that has all these film reels and contracts for movies and scripts with director's notes and all these amazing treasures that nobody's ever seen. And we're working with Jeff Everett, who's also known as Rockets Are Red, who's done a ton of art he himself put out a 300-page book of just concert posters that he's done for bands that you've absolutely heard of and some that might be your favorite, and as well as done a lot of wrestling art, both for us and for WWE and for other people. But this is an incredible book. So yeah, I appreciate the plug early on. Luchadors versus everything.com if you want to know more about the book and get on our mailing list, because it's Kickstarter. So we'll have like day one special extra awards or rewards for backers who back it right away. But we so much of what we do and what we're building here at Masked Republic outside of the ring with our entertainment, our film and television development is all inspired by those classic lucha movies of Luchadors versus Monsters and Luchadors fighting crime. And so it's really cool to be able to, there's been books put out about the genre before, and there's a lot of like chapters in books on lucha that touch on it, but there's never been kind of this incredibly comprehensive resource before. And so we're excited about that. But the other thing that's been taking up our time and going back to the question about Lucha Libre scene in the US is, we had a pause in 2025. Our original plans for MaskedMania a little bit derailed because of some of the things that were going on in the country. But we are firing up on all cylinders again. And we have just announced the first 4 events for our 2026 MaskedMania US tour. Tickets are on sale actually right now as we are recording this. VIP tickets for Laredo, Texas, and San Antonio, Texas, Loveland, Colorado, and Denver, Colorado. So we got 4 shows over the last 2 weeks of January, and we have a number of additional markets throughout the country that we are working on securing dates with venues for. And so we're excited to bring authentic Mexican lucha libre from top to bottom, with stars like LA Park and Pirata Morgan. Vampiro is going to be hosting these. So, you get some classic stars like the Parks and the Piratas, Tenieblas Jr., and you've got some of our kind of more modern stars like Gatubela, who was the second sexy star in AAA. Hijo de Rey Mysterio, the original Hijo de Rey Mysterio, the real son of Rey Sr., who had stepped away from the business for a while, but now he's back. And we're excited to have him joining the tour. Dimus, who's been in AAA WWE lately as the Mini Abismo Negro. And a lot of our really hot up-and-coming stars from the Tijuana area that have been the kind of most requested. Hey, please have these guys come back on a lot of the other shows that we've done across the country, the Lucha Solos and the Lucha Kings. So, yeah, hitting the road, and all the information's at MaskedMania.com.
So, Kevin, I have to first support one of our loyal listeners who bought a ticket in Atlanta for his son and himself, and had been sharing that with me. So, will you be going back to Atlanta? And I think that speaks to just getting a little bit of color, like, why was the timing not right? Why are these markets right? What's ahead?
So, a couple of things. So the timing wasn't right because literally the day that we had put the tickets on sale, or the week that we put the tickets on sale, was the largest ice raid in the Atlanta area. And I think, going back now to spring of last year, it was the beginning of all of the ice raids. And I think there's a lot of question of how this was going to be handled and where they were going to go and how they were going to go. And I think that there was both a feeling of uncertainty amongst the potential attendees, and there was a feeling on our end as well of responsibility. We didn't want to be putting on a large gathering of Hispanics that might become a target. It just didn't feel like the right thing to do at the time. And so the decision was made with the local promoters to eventually postpone/cancel. So what I learned doing all this was, if we had only postponed the dates open-ended, people would not have been able to receive refunds. But because we wanted people to be able to get refunds in case we didn't know when we were coming back, we had to cancel it so they could get their money back. So that was really important to us. We didn't want Ticketmaster or anybody to be able to hold on to people's money if we didn't have a guaranteed return date. So the way that the Masked Mania tour works is we are working with UTA, our partners on it, and we partner with local promoters or venues that want to bring the show in. So we're not out necessarily selecting our own markets. Like, we have target markets that we want to try to find partners in, and we collaborate with UTA on how to kind of select those markets. But right now, it's really, we're also fielding offers from all over the country. Markets that you would expect, like San Antonio and Laredo, and markets that you wouldn't expect. We're working on, like a number of like middle America markets that probably have never had a full-on authentic Mexican lucha libre show. So we do hope to be able to return or actually come to the Atlanta area, but we don't have a date right now. But encourage them to definitely let their local arenas and venues know that they want to have us come back or have us come there, because we definitely want to be able to hit Atlanta.
So, Kevin, no one could give more insight than you can, but we understand the sensitivities of it all. I don't think we've had you on since the WWE AAA all went down. So give us your thoughts about that, about how that affects the U.S. market. What's going on?
Okay. How do I summarize this in 3 minutes? I think the number one most positive thing coming from it is, I do think that there is a expanded awareness of lucha libre. I think people that weren't necessarily talking about lucha libre, and that's not just like saying in the fandom, I'm saying like businesses, venues, potential licensing partners. There people saw TKO has now basically put their stamp on lucha libre. I had a number of people come to me and say, this thing that you've been telling us for the last 10 years we should really be paying attention to because there's a market for it here in the US, or 15 years probably. Your theory just got proven right with TKO's investment in WWE. So that, that was a positive. I think it's still too early for any of us to really know even how it's going to, and I'm not talking in a positive and negative. I'm just saying, like, what will the full impact be? I think they're still trying to figure it out, right? I think the biggest question now is, what will the television situation be? I think it's been really cool to see the talent get integrated. I love that Mr. Iguana and La Parca and others, Hijo de Wagner, have been able to be featured in NXT and been exposed to more people. I mean, I think we've all seen Mr. Iguana has been one of the biggest beneficiaries of this. And the fact that we have Mr. Iguana in an upcoming video game of ours and in an upcoming animated project of ours, I'm all for it. The more love and exposure for Mr. Iguana, the better. And it honestly, I mean, while I think there was a lot of controversy in Mexico when this happened, they're selling out arenas. There is a rabid fan base right now in Mexico. And I think that people who, I think, one of the comments was, oh, there goes traditional lucha libre. But as a lot of people have pointed out, AAA was never traditional lucha libre. AAA was always the more WWE version of lucha libre. And so you've still got CMLL and you've still got others if you want that really more traditional lucha libre. But I think you can't deny that they're selling out buildings. So the fans in Mexico seem to be getting what they want out of this, or at least enough fans to sell out buildings. So I think that time will tell what the total impact is, but I think it's off to a really interesting start.
Awesome. We love the run-in, Kevin. We know you have to go, but let's get in all the plugs.
All right. So yes, MaskedMania.com. Come out, check us out. Texas and Laredo, San Antonio, Loveland, Colorado, Denver, Colorado. More to come. Follow Masked Republic at Masked Republic on all social media because we've got more dates coming. And definitely check out Luchadors versus Everything because it's going to be the coolest book ever made on Lucha Libre movies. And I look forward to coming back maybe, in February when the Kickstarter's live and showing you guys some previews of it and talking about it more.
We're moving you up the rankings, Kevin. Thank you.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thanks,
All right,
guys.
take care.
Yep. Thank you for the run-in, Kev. Awesome. I love that. So let's head towards the plugs. Lavie, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. How about you?
Follow me on X at Lavie Marg, LAVIE-MARG. If you're a voracious TNA fan that will not listen to logic, don't follow me or don't comment. You can follow me, though. LionCubJobSearch.com. And we always love to grow our LinkedIn group, the only group of its kind, the business of the business, including job listings.
All right. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening. We'll see you right back here next week for a little business of the business. See you next week, folks.